Thank you for joining us today for the 2024 Law Firm Goals Creating a Growth Plan webinar. My name is Abby Guerrero, and I am the Assistant Marketing Manager here at Atticus. If this is your first time joining us for a webinar, we do appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I would like to introduce to you today's speaker, Josh Dorcey. Josh is the founder and managing partner of Dorcey Law Firm, PLC, a Florida-based firm focusing on estate planning, business planning, and asset protection. Josh has been a part of Atticus since 2013 as an adjunct practice advisor, and he coaches other attorneys. With that being said, Josh, I will turn this webinar directly over to you.
All right, thanks, Abby. Appreciate it. I hope everybody can hear me today. We're excited to kind of go through at the end of 2023. I hope everybody's had an absolutely phenomenal year. If this wasn't your best year, then we're going to spend some time working on helping 2024 will be a better year. But obviously at Atticus, our goal at this point is we want to help you grow a better practice and to cultivate a better, great life. And, you know, in the world I live in, I want me to have a great life, and I want the people around me to have a great life as well. And so that's the goal of what we're looking for today. As we kind of work through the model that Atticus has put together that has worked for thousands of attorneys nationwide. So make sure you have your pen and paper out. Make sure you're following us on all of our social channels. And we're going to kind of hit through everything. If you haven't been listening to our podcast put out by one of the owners, Steve Riley, make sure you do that. It's an absolutely great thing for you to do because it's going to allow for you to kind of follow up and learn some things as we go along that a lot of the other what we call Atticousins are sharing on a weekly and monthly basis of things that they've learned in their practice. So make sure that you're following us on the social channels. Make sure you're listening to those podcasts, and I think that you'll get a lot of value out of that. When we look at making sure that we are growing our great life and our great practice, all of us went to law school. For the most part, we practice law and we enjoy it. But our legal skills, as we know in that scenario, oftentimes are set apart from the business skills. They didn't teach us as much about running a law practice or running a business in law school as we really wish that they would have. And so that is where Atticus oftentimes will fill in the gap for practicing attorneys. And so really from a math concept, you take your legal skills you learned in law school and you add them together with business skills. And that is the way that we make sure that you're able to maximize the profit that you want to take out of your law firm and out of your law practice to be able to make sure that you are having that life that you want to have. When we're looking at revenue and growth from a perspective, we always want to look at revenue, income, control, and freedom and the impact that's having on us. Now, the four cornerstones of a successful practice, in our opinion, are those things that you're seeing on the screen. It's sharpening focus, it's attracting high-value clients, it's building a great team, and then it's making sure that you have some form of cash flow and hopefully profitability. And really, legal skills oftentimes fall at the bottom end of that list. Right. And so when you're running a business, it's making sure that you have the team around you. So we're going to go through three things today in our 45 minutes or so together. Atticus has a lot of ongoing programs at all times. They have individual coaching, they have group coaching. And so at the very end of this, Abby will put in the chat box the ability for you to be able to connect with us if that's something you want to do and you want to join some other type of program, either monthly or quarterly. We have those opportunities for you. The first goal that we're going to go through today is just going to be looking at what happened in 2023, learn from that, either good or bad, and then focus on what we're going to do in 2024 to make it either the best year you've ever had or to make it a heck of a lot better than 2023 was. The second thing we want to look at, number two, is understanding the fundamentals of a SMART goal as we do it. And I'll walk you through that acronym. That way you can take those notes down and then you can start applying that to your practice. And then goal three is we're going to start growing your practice in the next 24 hours. We want to do something that's going to start you off on a good foot, supercharge you going into the end of this year. And then that way, I don't know about your practice, but with my practice, the things that I do in December oftentimes increase revenue in January and February. And so not losing sight, not losing focus during this holiday time period, but actually using right now while our competitors are starting to go to sleep at the end of the year, using this as an opportunity to kind of give you a jump start going into the 2024 work year. So first thing, setting our goals. Now, there are some people that when we bring up goals, their eyes roll in the back of their heads. They give excuses. They're not good at setting goals. They don't like it. They suck at it. They never follow through. We know at the beginning of the year, everybody has New Year's resolutions, and we know by the first 90 days, most people have broken 90% of them. Our goal in this scenario is for us to set goals that you're actually going to be able to attain, but that you're not setting them so low on the list that you're not actually stretching yourself. And so as we go through it, I want you to be a goal setter. We want you to be goal setters. A goal is something you write down, you think through, and it does make our brain start working towards what we're trying to accomplish when we put it in writing and our brain starts working on it. So we want to be better goal setters to be able to enhance those business skills. So as we build your skills for growth, and we build your great team, which is the people around you, we're going to increase revenue by doing this, which hopefully means that you have the ability to live the great life that you're trying to build, which means you're going to be able to take time off and be away from the practice, sometimes take time off and work on the practice versus working in the practice. And as your reputation increases and you're more relaxed in your practice, we're hoping that the referrals continue to come in without you having to do all the work your individual self. And so that is the goals of setting our great practice. I don't know about you, but for me, I want to have a great team around me. I want to be able to make sure I'm making the money that I want to make. I want to be able to make sure that I'm taking time off. And I want to make sure that my team is a referral machine. So that way we're having to spend less time and money sometimes on marketing outside the firm. And we're able to kind of work with those referral sources, sending it to us. So those are our goals that we have for everybody that's a part of Atticus. You may have some other goals, but those are the 5 goals that we set for ourselves. Now, when you break down things for a more personal level or for you individually, for me wise, I have professional goals. I want to know where my firm is going to be at, where I'm going to be at from a financial aspect. I want to know where I'm going to be at personally. From a health perspective, putting health at a forefront for me, and I'll walk you through that a little bit in a few minutes. Spiritually wise, I want to be able to make sure that I'm in tune with my faith. From a social aspect, I want to be able to make sure that I'm being sociable both personally and virtually. We want to be able to make sure that from a mental aspect that we are using our brains, relaxing, doing the things to be able to get our brain the reprieve that it needs at the end of 2023. So that way we are ready to move into 2024 with a fresh brain. And then if you have a family or you have friends that are around you, making sure that those relationships are as healthy as possible. And so there's a lot of business coaching groups out there that will advise you on your practice. Our experience is you have a great practice, which leads into a great life, but I don't think we can accomplish one without the other. I know a lot of attorneys that make a lot of money, but have a very terrible home life or their health is falling apart. Our goal in this scenario for those to be symbiotic, for you to have a great practice and a great life. And so all the things that you're seeing on your screen are things that we have to work on incrementally. That way they all improve and get better little by little over time. So as we move into the goal 1, which is going to be learning from 2023 and saying, what did we do in 2023 that we're going to move into 2024? Some of those things you're going to look at and you're going to say, I don't want to move some of the things I did in 2024. So at those things, you're going to cross some things out. I did them in 2023 and it didn't work. And so let's kind of walk through a little bit. We want to know what's working in your practice, what isn't working in your practice. Now, in this scenario, sometimes you'll hear somebody say it's the question that you ask, what should we start doing? What should we stop doing? And what should we continue to do? It's a very similar analysis in that scenario. We're looking at what is working. The reason we want to focus on what is working is that's the positive side of things. I don't want you to jump into the negativity of 2023. I want you to focus on what worked. Right? At that point, just like when we are training our animals at home, we focus on the positive things and the negative things will seem to roll away. I don't want us to spend a lot of energy in the last month of the year focusing on negative stuff. So what is working? And then focus on what isn't. Second, And then we want to look at what did we learn from either what worked or what did we learn from what didn't work. Now, there are typically two different types of people in this world. There are the people that learn from the mistakes from others, and there's people that learn from making their own mistakes. You want, in my opinion, to be a hybrid of those two people. So we want to sit back and we want to analyze what worked and what didn't work. Now, I will tell you, in the healthcare industry, if you are ever in a surgical OR or you are in an ER and they run a code, they always have a debrief immediately after the code if the patient didn't make it, and they all talk about what they did, what they didn't do, what worked, what didn't work. Well, my experience is we don't always do that in law practices. We don't sit down and say, that was a phenomenal file. What did we do that worked? Or that file sucked and we blew it. What did we do wrong? We just move on to the next file. Well, I want you to analyze this in the same way you would a file now. I want you to analyze this from a year's perspective. What did we learn from it? Break it down, analyze it, because that's going to be your secret sauce to what is going to be replicated that you're going to be able to move into 2024 and years beyond. And that is how you are going to improve on the base of what you have been successful at in 2023. Now, my personal opinion in it will be freeing for you to write down the things that didn't work. I don't want you to blame anybody. I don't want you to blame anybody in the office why it didn't work. I don't want you to take it on yourself. The reality is there's things that you did that worked and there's things that didn't. We want to focus on the things that did work. So at that point, take the things off of the side and you're going to make a decision down the road. Are those things we're going to try again? Or are those things that we're going to take outside behind the barn and we're going to leave it behind the barn and we're never going to look at it or talk about it again? Now, there's a worksheet that Abby's going to put in the chat group that you guys can open up. It's a fillable PDF. This is what we consider to be the learning bridge. So as we take a few minutes after this, I want you to fill this form out yourself, spend some time working through it and having that brain time for yourself. On that, you're going to have 3 things that worked, why they worked. Then I want you to have 3 things that didn't work and why, in your opinion, they didn't work. Okay. And then you're going to fill out the top 3 lessons that you learned. The first is, what did I learn from those things? And then how can I improve on those? How can those become better? In the engineering world, the how can I become better? This is really the galvanizing process where you're analyzing what worked and you're breaking it apart so that way you can come up with something that's going to be reproducible in the future. And then at the very bottom, you're going to have the top 3 ways that you can improve your performance going forward. And really, these are mental decisions that you're going to make the decision on that I'm going to do going forward. Therefore, I can start replicating the successes that I had in 2023. Now, on the back side of that, when you fill it out, this is what it's going to look like. But once you fill it out, you can always write on the back if you have additional information. I know sometimes our forms don't give a lot of space for you to be able to fill out everything. So you can always fill out on the back if you absolutely need to, if you print that out. But I'm going to give an example of what you see on the screen. Okay, so what worked, right? I improved my health and fitness over the last 90 days. So as I told you earlier, I was going to share with you a little bit on that. Health and fitness for a number of years was not my primary goal. It was the growth of my team and growth of my practice. This year, I decided to get on a workout routine, and I went out and I joined the executive health program at Cleveland Clinic. And they, in one day, allowed me to go in and have all my tests done that would have taken me 2 or 3 years to do. I saw 9 different specialists in one day, and they did all my tests, all my labs, and now I have a baseline. Now, that may not be perfect for everybody in your life, but for me, I was very busy, and so I was always putting that off. So I made the decision this year that I was going to do that. So in that scenario, that's something that you could do, okay? It could be hiring. You know, that for some reason you have hired 1 or 2 or 3 people on your team that have been a great success. It could be that you joined Atticus, or you went to a coaching conference, or you went to some type of CLE and you learned some basic knowledge that you're able to take back and turn into something. Something that didn't work potentially, you could say that we had an employee that left and the employee didn't give a notice, right? And so in that scenario, that's bad. You would want employees to give you notice, even if they're leaving. At least there'd be the professional courtesy. So what is going on with my team that somebody would just drop everything and walk out on us right off the bat, right? And so you can kind of go through this. The presentation can be provided. This screen can be provided to you to kind of give you ideas. But then when you move down to what I learned and how I can improve, we want to be specific. You'll notice under the category of how I can improve what I learned. And so let's say in this lane, Kathleen needs more support. How can I improve? We don't want to just say we need to be doing better. We want to put numbers, dates, times, something that would be done. That way you have something you can put on your calendar and you can be held accountable for to make sure that you're going to carry it out. And then make sure that you fill out those top 3 ways that you can improve your performance. So once again, on those ones, these are going to be more general, but it's still things that I want you to put either in your daily planner or you're going to have it in front of you on a daily basis. Me, I have my notes tab on my phone and it's the first note. And so the things that I'm working on are the first things that I review every day. And just positive energy wise, there's an element of reading something on a regular basis of what you're trying to accomplish that helps move you towards that goal. And if for some reason you stick it somewhere that you're not going to see it, then unfortunately in that scenario, the time will probably come that you'll go, ooh, I forgot about that. So you want to make sure you're putting these in a place that's going to remind you to keep it at the front of your mind so your brain continues to work on it. All right, now goal number 2. This is understanding the fundamentals of SMART goals. So what are SMART goals? SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Right? And so we oftentimes at Atticus will have goals that are 90-day goals, 1-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, right? Because if I want to accomplish something in year 10, I need to start in year 1. But if there's something I want to accomplish this year, I need to put it on my list in the first 90 days. And so as we work with individuals and coach them, we are constantly holding them accountable on the things that they're putting on their list. But you want your goals to be specific, not general, measurable, so you're going to know when you actually attain what you're trying to attain, achievable, something that you can actually reach for, realistic. So I would love to be president in the United States someday. That's probably not going to happen. I'd love to go to the moon. Probably isn't going to happen. I'd love to have the largest law firm in America. Probably not going to happen. So we want to be able to make sure that we are realistic in our goals, especially if we're setting ones that we want to see that we're making some progress over time, and timely, right? If it's a goal that I have for 30 years from now, at that point, I need to put it on my list that I'm working on it now to make sure I'm going to attain it 30 years from now, because otherwise I'm going to wake up 30 years from now and say, oops, I didn't attain that goal. So our mental process at Atticus is this. How do we accomplish a goal? Well, one is we have to have a compelling reason to accomplish the goal that we're setting out, right? And so if we have a compelling reason, we are likely to do it. Why? Because if I have an idea, but it's not a great idea and I'm not committed to it, it's probably not going to be something I'm going to be successful with. So in this scenario, we want a compelling reason. Then we need some type of system that is going to hold us accountable and is going to follow up with us to make sure it's being done. Now, I'm sure this doesn't happen in your practice, but in my practice, I walk in on Monday morning sometimes, and the things that I thought I was going to do during the day Monday get thrown out the window within the first hour or two, and I end up doing other things. Well, that's what we call the whirlwind. That's called life. And so the purpose behind accountability and follow-up is that you have somebody else that you're accountable to, like a trainer at the gym, that I know my trainer is going to be there, therefore I need to show up. And then at that point, you have somebody that's pointing out your flaws or is working with you to come through that mental process to make what you're trying to do something that's realistic and that you're going to be able to accomplish it. So this is our change formula. You need a compelling reason, your real why, you need accountability and follow-up, and then at that point, you need some type of strategy and coaching to make sure it can become a success. And then it has the ability to become something that can be reproducible. Now, when we get to why it's worth it, okay? So this is your life. This is your practice. We talk to attorneys all the time that the reason they went out on their own or joined in a partnership and left the firm where they were at is they wanted to control their life and be in control of their practice so they could do things the way they wanted. And then 2, 3, 4, 5 years into that practice, what their original goal was flipped on its head. And they found themselves letting the firm dictate their life. And all of a sudden, what they set out to do is no longer the vision or the goal. The goal is to do whatever the firm tells them to do Monday through Saturday. Therefore, they can make the wage that they've become accustomed to. And our dream and our goal is to make it where you get to take back control of your practice. So you have a great practice, which will then lead into a great life where you're getting to make the revenue you want and you get to take time off. And so from that aspect, this is where you are making a choice. At that point, do I want to have a great practice and a great life or not? Okay, so I want you to think about carpe diem, seize the day, seize the moment. So when you do this, you're going to create new behaviors and you're going to develop new skills. And I'm going to be very, very real with you. You're going to try, and on some of them, you're going to fail. And that's okay. If you don't try, you're not going to fail. But if you don't fail, then you're not going to learn what you need to do better the next time to be able to make sure that you make the progress. So that's why we want to make sure that we set SMART goals that are realistic, that are reachable, right? That are timely, because we want you to have those little successes. So don't go set such a goal that you're going to fail and you're going to feel like a failure and you're not going to try to pick up the ball and run again. I want you to do something that allows you to create new behaviors and develop new skills that are going to make you more successful. Okay. Now, if you think it matters, then you have to come up with a way to measure what you're going to do, right? So whatever you're trying to accomplish, I'm going to tell you, in the millennial generation, they oftentimes are playing video games, and in their video games, they have quests, right? Under the old ones, we would call them missions under Mission Impossible. But under quests, as they go along, they get a little reward as they go along, moving towards their prize. So view this as you were driving from your house to Washington, D.C. And along the way, you're going to pick 5 or 10 places. You're going to stop and you're going to have fun as a family. Well, that's why when you're setting goals, you want to do the same thing. You want to have some incremental successes along the way so you get to feel that dopamine rush that you are accomplishing something, that you're not setting such a big goal that you're not going to feel successful to the very end, because sometimes that can lag on too long and that can feel daunting. Okay. We want you to maximize the results of what you're trying to accomplish. So maximization of results to me is, I want to make sure it has an impact on the areas of life that I want to see the greatest impact. So for me this year, it was health. For you, it might be financial. For somebody else, it might be their great team. But you want to make sure that you are focusing on the area that's going to have the greatest impact on your life and practice. Nothing against small goals, but if those small goals aren't going to move the needle in my great life and my great practice, those aren't the goals that I want you to spend a lot of time thinking on right now. Okay. And then as we learn from our goal setting, there's going to be times, just like I did a few minutes ago, I want you to analyze. Okay. I set a goal. What worked? What didn't work? And how do I improve for the next time so I can become better at goal setting to be able to make sure that I'm going to succeed in the way that I want to succeed? Okay. Now, once again, specific, measurable, accountable, reasonable, and timely or on a timeline. So that way you can put it on your calendar and you can make sure that you're going to accomplish what you're wanting to accomplish. So after you set your goals, I want you to go back, put these 5 things out, and I want you to check the box of the goal that I set. Does it meet these 5 things? If not, I want you to sit down and rewrite that goal to make sure it's meeting those specifications. All right, now the number 3 of what we're going to go through today is start growing your practice in the next 24 hours. Okay, so we're at the end of the year. I mentioned it earlier that you have competitors that are starting to aim towards the end of the year. They're thinking about the holidays, they're thinking about the new year, and they're starting to slow down. This is our chance always, that when we were in law school, we knew if somebody else was on vacation and we were studying, we were gaining ground. This is if you're a professional athlete and somebody else is going out partying after the game and you're sitting in the ice tub, making sure you're recovering, you're gaining ground on your competition. And that's what we want to make sure that we're doing right now, that we are starting to move forward at being successful in 2024. So the first thing I want you to do is part of my great life and my great practice is this. You personally are the most valuable person in your life and in your practice. And if you work all the time and you don't take care of yourself, then you are not going to be as successful as you want to be. And it also means the people that depend on you the most, the people at your home, the people in your friend circle, and the people at work, their lives could be detrimentally affected if you had a major heart event or you had a major health event that took you out of the workplace. So what we want you to do is I want you to go through your calendar for 2024, and I want you to go block off the dates that you are going to need to be doing something else other than practicing law. This isn't just your normal 8 or 9 holidays that you guys take off, right? This is anything, if you have kids or grandkids or important events in your life, you're going to go in now and you're going to schedule those dates off. Now, if you're a grandparent, this could be, lunch with my grandchild. And every year that it's going to be on a Friday, and you may have to reach out to the school and find out what is it going to be in 2024. Reach out to your child. It could be if you have your own kids, you're going to do that. Okay. I want you to go block off your key vacation time for 2024. And if you're one of those people that says, I'm not taking a vacation, I'm too busy for a vacation, I'm going to ask you to trust me that there is somebody in your life that wants to take a vacation, even if it's not you. So I'm going to ask you to go schedule it off. And then if you're likely to be the person that's going to bail on a vacation, I want you to go book that vacation. Go make the reservation for the hotel and buy the flights in the next 3 weeks. So that way you are locked into that vacation, and then start talking about that vacation with your key family members or friends immediately. So you too get excited about taking time off, where you're going to go and what you're going to do. All right. Significant family events, that's weddings, birthdays, what they are in your life. Make sure you're putting those on the calendar. If you're the person that likes to have a gift for the person on those days, put a notice a few days before. That way it notifies you to put an order on Amazon. So at least that gift comes in on the day or so before the event. So you have something to take. And then for health or wellness, just like I did, it's very important. Make sure you're scheduling your visits with your family practitioner, with your specialist, to make sure that you have your baselines. So that way the people around you that depend on you the most know that you're taking care of yourself. Plus, from a mental health perspective, if you're not taking care of yourself, that probably means your employees aren't seeing a very good role model, and they're probably not doing the same thing either. So what a great way of moving into 2024, taking care of yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Therefore, you're role modeling that for your team, that it's okay for them to take care of themselves too. Okay. Now, from a business side, I want you to also go on the calendar, and you are going to put on your calendar your marketing events for the year. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say you want to go business walking, or you want to go, as I call, shake the bushes. You're going to go out and meet some of your referral sources, walk in their office, give them a gift, sit down and talk to them. I want you to schedule those days off on your calendar that you're going to go do that. Once again, if the time is set aside for it, you're going to do it. The more you do it, the more referrals you're going to get, and the more you're going to realize that you like it. So set it aside and hold it accountable. Now, I will also tell you, as a business owner, my biggest struggle has always been there's always going to be a case or an issue or a file that will come up that everybody in the world is going to think is more important for me to do on that day than go shake the bushes or meet with my potential referral sources. And I want you to protect that time as best you can, because that's how you continue to grow your practice. You can't let something come in and detour you. And it does happen, but you have to make sure that more times than not, then nothing's going to step in the way of that. Now, that could be that you do breakfasts, or you do lunches, or you do drinks after work with individuals, but schedule those times off, and then we can backfill them with who they're going to be with. But make sure they're scheduled on your calendar so you, your spouse, your significant other, your family knows the nights or days or mornings that you're going to have those events, so it's not a surprise to everybody else. Now, if you do seminars or workshops, do your best now. Spend some time now strategically to get those on the calendar. Mark the time off for them. It will make it so much easier for your team as they're planning those events, that they're not having to go find dates in the future. Schedule them now so you can pick the most opportune times, the time of the day that you're going to get the best show up or the best feedback from your clients or your prospects or your referral sources. And then I want you to think about, what are your marketing goals for next year, right? How many potential referrals do you want? How many referral sources are you aiming for? How many seminars or workshops are you going to host? Are you going to sponsor any charitable events? And if you are, what is the dollar amounts that you're willing to put towards that? Setting the goals for marketing will make it so much easier for you as you're moving through the next year. Obviously, you can always make a change on the fly, but having a plan moving into the new year will give you an extra level of confidence, and it will open up new doors for you because you're going to have that time set aside on your calendar. So you have the ability to move forward with those opportunities instead of having to find time on the calendar, which I know, no different than you, there will always be something that could be more important. And my tendency is to worry about the revenue that's going to come in next week versus the revenue that's going to come in next month or next year. And so from a marketing perspective, we have to focus on the future growth, not always what's 2 feet in front of our face. Okay. Now, as you block out the time for that, okay, like I said, we can plug and play later. We can put somebody else's name in there. We can move those things around. Just get the time there now and protect your time. So here's some ways that I've learned to protect my time. I tell my executive assistant that no matter what I say, that cannot be moved, and she has the authority to tell me no. Now, you telling an employee that they have the authority to tell you no seems a little bit backwards. I'm the boss. I'm the owner. I get to tell them. But if I think that marketing event is more important than some small file that's a major issue in the office, I have to give somebody in the office the ability to tell me no. I have to create parameters that if I force my way through it, it's going to hurt. So oftentimes in the past, I will create a punishment for myself that if I make the change, it's something that I'm going to have to do, that I'm going to cut a check, or I'm going to give my assistant a day off. But if at that point I made it painful for myself because I broke my own rule, right? And so when we say protecting yourself or protecting your time, you have to create parameters. And that's one of the beauties of the Atticus community. You know, when we get together in my coaching groups on a quarterly basis, we are oftentimes having discussions about the different things that we are doing to help protect ourselves or our time or the processes and procedures that we're creating. And so it's one of those ones that you're going to start now doing it, but it will increase over time, especially as your practice continues to grow. Now, the celebrations I think are pretty cool. So if you haven't already done some celebrations for 2023, do it fast. You want to celebrate 2023. It may not be as glamorous as what you're going to do in 2024, but you still need to celebrate going into the new year. Make sure you're doing something with your team. But if you've already done that, spend your time focusing on what are the 3 things that you want to be celebrating 1 year from now. Right? So these are your linchpin goals. You might accomplish 50 goals next year, but these are 3 goals that if you accomplish these by the end of 2024, you will deem 2024 an ultimate success. Okay. A couple years ago, my goal was I wanted to finish the build out on our building, right? That was a timely goal. That was something that we could get done. And so I earmarked the funds that we needed to do it, but it was a major event. We were all looking forward to finishing it out. It could be that your goal is to have a major, a marketing event, maybe a client appreciation banquet or something, that you're launching something new for 2024 that you've never done before. So what I would do is I would make sure these goals are something that at least one of them is something you've never done before, right? It's going to be a real stretch. It's a bucket list item. It can be personal, it can be professional, but it's making sure that you're doing something that's going to make you feel that dopamine rush that I did it, I accomplished something. And that's what I want you to have by the end of 2024, no matter what. And then you have to make the decision of when you are going to start planning for these successes. And so if we set the goal now and we put them in a drawer and we pick them up in July or August and go, oh, look what my goals were at the beginning of the year, we're not going to be very likely that we're going to reach those goals. So just like I had you calendar in things for family events, same thing that I had you do for time off, I want you to schedule in on your calendar your check-ins, your accountabilities. And if you don't have a private business coach through Atticus or something like that right now, then I need you to pick somebody on your team that is going to be the person that is supposed to call you on the first Tuesday of February and say, hey, did you do X? Find somebody that will help you stay accountable to make sure that you're going to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. So you got to start now, calendar those events in, and then once a minute, find somebody that's going to help you stay accountable. Now, what to do next? Okay, so I want you to discuss your goals and your why and your growth plan, okay, with a member of our service team. They're going to reach out to you, and I just want you to walk through what your goals are. Once again, this is a brain opportunity. View this as the time to kind of brainstorm together, get something out, talk through it. Our brain works in that way, that if we keep it all in our head, sometimes we don't connect all the dots. Verbalizing it, bringing it out, writing it down gives us the ability for our brain to continue to work, and you're going to start perfecting those goals. Now, you have the ability to schedule that free consultation, and then you also have the ability to join us for a 90-minute extended conversation on law firm goals. This is going to be December 18th, so roughly 2 weeks from now. It's by Zoom. My recommendation is absolutely do that. It's just going to be an enhancement of what we were talking about today, and it's going to help once again launch you into 2024 to be able to make sure that you have the best year you've ever had, and we are making steps towards your great life and your great practice both. Okay. The upcoming workshops that we have our typical practice growth programs, which once again, our team members can walk you through. We have the SMART goals for 2024, level up your law firm, and then the mastering the productive focus for the busy attorney. Now, in my opinion, you wouldn't be on this call if you weren't a busy attorney trying to kind of grow your practice and think outside the box. So in that scenario, both of those practice, the SMART ones are going to be incredible. They're all around 45 minutes. So it's a great time to sit down, get something out of it, and then make sure that you apply something. Going back to the practice growth program, Abby mentioned it earlier, I do lead a practice growth program. Right now, I think we have about 30 different firms that are really getting together on a quarterly basis, spending time together, growing and learning and sharing what's going on in their practices. I will tell you, if you like being a part of a group, you like the aspect of learning from others, especially in your practice area, I would tell you, make sure and talk to one of our team members. We are seeing amazing growth in ours. I started off in the same. I'm in a program called Dominate Your Market, which is a different program. Once again, our program meets quarterly as well. Both of those programs have the ability from a group-based scenario to build and grow your practice and learn from others, while individual coaching is a phenomenal way to keep you accountable. And in that way, you get to have those individual conversations. So either way, it works amazing just to make sure that you're doing it. So the one that practice growth, we have them in San Francisco and Orlando. On December 18th, we have that one for the Leveling Up Your Law Firm I spoke of earlier. And then on January 9th of 2024, that's the Mastering the Productive Focus for your business attorney. So just make sure you put those on your calendar, make sure that you attend those. Now, any final thoughts and questions? I will allow for, we've got about 4 minutes. I will take around 2 or 3 quick questions. If anyone who wants to come off the with their microphone, turn it off. I'll gladly answer it, and then we'll finish up at the top of the hour. So anyone that has a question, go ahead and put your hand up, and then I will call on you. Abby, if you see whose hands are up, just let me know.
Josh?
All right. Yep.
Quick question on the SMART acronym. In the beginning, you said that A was achievable, and then it turned to accountable. Is there a preference?
So it's achievable, but achievable in our mind normally means something that you're being held accountable for, right? So achievable means you can actually accomplish it. So if you're going to set a larger goal, then I would use the word accountable, right? Because at that point you need something that you need accountability for, but achievable is going to work better for something that you're going to try to accomplish in the first 90 days.
Yeah, I was going to share this with others, so I just kind of want to know what the...
Yeah, I would say achievable in that scenario would be the better option.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, guys, before we let you go and you guys go launch your goals for 2024? I ask you to fill out the worksheet that we did, think through it, schedule that one-on-one time with one of our team members, and then just make 2024 the best year you've ever had, and make sure you're taking those steps to have the best practice and the best life that you can possibly have. All right, guys, have a Merry Christmas. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.